Discover how I transformed from reluctant babysitter for 12 kids at my sister's wedding into an unexpected force of confidence. Megan stood in the sprawling foyer of her family's estate, her heart racing as she adjusted the oversized cardigan that hung loosely off her shoulders. She glanced around the room, decked out with extravagant floral arrangements and the kind of elegant chandeliers she'd only seen in movies. Her sister, the radiant bride, floated from one person to another, her confidence glowing like the diamonds in her hair. And here was Megan, just a college dropout with sticky hands and a dozen rambunctious kids under her supervision, an ironic joke in a world made for glitz and glamour. As the kids buzzed around her, their laughter and shrieks cut through her insecurity like a knife. She had always felt like a shadow next to her sister's light, each grand ambition overshadowed by the enormity of success that Megan could only dream of. But being the unofficial babysitter today felt like a prison sentence. She hesitated, unsure of how to contain chaotic energy that seemed to reflect her own frantic thoughts. "Mom, I need a snack," yelled a freckle-faced boy. And Megan felt her stomach churn, not from the mess, but from an overwhelming sense of failure. Couldn't she even handle this? Was she simply destined to be a helper in someone else's story, always in the background, always unnoticed when it truly mattered? The situation intensified. Chocolate smeared across one child's face caught her attention, and another hollered as he chased a balloon that floated higher and higher. A wave of sheer panic washed over her. She couldn't help but feel that every laugh highlighted her shortcomings, a reminder that she lacked the poise and privilege her sister exuded so effortlessly. Yet, as chaos ensued, she took a deep breath and stepped into the clamor. "Let's have a race to the lemonade stand," she shouted, determination seeping into her voice. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As she watched the kids sprint toward their new target, their laughter became infectious. Each giggle was a crack in the armor of her self-doubt. Megan started to feel a connection forming, something solid and warm she could grasp amidst the cacophony. She could navigate through the mess, turning each sticky spill and tumble into a playful adventure. Each time a child looked up at her with eyes full of wonder, she felt pieces of her shattered confidence slowly reforming. But just as hope began to blossom, the shadows loomed larger. The in-laws flashed scornful looks as they whispered behind manicured nails, their criticism piercing her newfound sanctuary. "So this is the best they could find?" one remarked, laughter laced with disdain. The weight of their judgment felt suffocating, a testament that even in the warm chaos of giggling children, she was still vulnerable, a mere bystander in her sister's perfect world. The music swelled, and the tension became unbearable, her heart racing as she faced another crisis when cupcakes toppled onto her from an excitable child. Experienced voices from the sidelines molded her reality, pulling her back into a tempest of helplessness. As Mrs. Thompson, the sharp-witted wedding coordinator, approached, sharing little secrets and family histories, she sparked a fire of resilience within Megan, a reminder of strength born of struggle. Yet, Megan could hear the criticisms still echoing in her mind. Could she truly stand her ground? Would she let herself be defined by the judgments of others? As the wedding night reached its peak, she felt the storm brewing inside her, ready to explode in defiance. She had navigated through laughter and despair, but as tensions escalated, would she dare to confront the expectations that threatened to drown her? Her breath quickened, nerves unraveling, as one final thought burned in her mind. Was it time to claim her worth, or remain shackled to the shadows of doubt? Megan stood frozen for a moment in the midst of turmoil, a dozen competing voices tearing away at her resolve. The laughter faded as the scornful whispers of the in-laws loomed larger in her mind, striking a chord that resonated deeply within her insecurities. Each derisive comment swirled around, echoing her childhood fears of being overshadowed, of being the unnoticed sibling in a family replete with achievements and accolades. Yet, as chaos unfurled, a flicker of resilience ignited within her. She glanced at the kids, their faces bright with joy, untainted by the criticism she felt so painfully. Each child's joyous laugh mirrored her own bubbling frustration and unexpected excitement. Could it be true? Could she reclaim her narrative, twist it into something worthwhile, even amidst the judgment of others? She clenched her fists, the sensation familiar yet thrilling, a kernel of determination finding its way to the surface. With a sudden sense of purpose, Megan chose to take control. "We're going for a scavenger hunt," her voice rang out confidently. She divided the children into small groups and started laying out the rules. Find an object that means celebration or joy. It was a simple directive, but as the kids scattered, their laughter buzzed like electricity, and Megan felt a surge of empowerment. Gathering the children around her once again, she wove a narrative, weaving in stories of her own childhood, her adventures in the garden, her beloved dog that had once stolen her favorite toy. It was a story they could latch onto, and soon their eyes sparkled with admiration. The laughter turned into a chorus of enthusiastic storytelling. The energy shifted from manic to magical. For the first time in ages, Megan felt the curtain of self-doubt begin to lift. The snickers and snide remarks from those around her ceased to matter. She was no longer simply a babysitter. She was a leader, an orchestrator of joy. The sensation was alien yet familiar, a reminder of the girl who had once danced with abandon in her living room without a care for an audience. But then came the undeniable moment of reckoning. As her impromptu scavenger hunt wound down, Mrs. Thompson, with her piercing gaze and expected authority, approached Megan. "That was quite creative," she admitted, her tone implying rather than stating, almost like a challenge. "But the wedding's the priority. Children are not usually the main act, you know." Megan felt the indignation rise in her like a tide. She could sense the scrutinizing stares of the family weaving through the crowd, their judgment amplifying her internal conflict. Her heart thumped violently in her chest as she prepared for a confrontation within herself. Was she willing to stand her ground now that she had tasted a fragment of assertiveness? Taking a breath, she squared her shoulders. "Yes, the wedding is important, and that's why I want the kids to feel included too," she countered, finding strength in her conviction. It was a small victory, but it felt monumental. As she reclaimed her narrative and faced the critical juggernaut of expectations, Megan's mind raced with newfound clarity about her worth. Clarity blossomed not just from combating the external voices, but from confronting her internal dialogues that constantly undermined her. It felt like a step forward she didn't know she had the strength to take. Yet, with each victory came the creeping uncertainty of the future. Was this newfound confidence a passing phase? Would Mrs. Thompson's next critique hit harder? Or would it turn into learning? The shadows of doubt had not dissipated entirely. They lingered like unwelcome guests, waiting for a moment of weakness. Still fueled by her small triumph, Megan felt the urgency to push further, to discover more about herself. She understood that claims of worth could be daringly transformative, but continuous self-affirmation would become her ultimate battleground. Would she seize this momentum, or would the specter of expectation engulf her once more? This moment marked the threshold. The next step loomed just outside her comfort zone. The night stretched ahead, filled with laughter, tension, and unresolved conflict. Megan could feel the weight of decisions heavy on her shoulders. As she surveyed the room, the competing pressures clawed for attention. It was time to not only stand her ground, but to stake her place in this family dynamic amid the consequences that could follow. Her heart raced with the precarious thrill of what lay ahead. Would she remain brave enough to face those judgments, or would she retreat into the shadows once more? And just as the question settled in her thoughts, Another child dashed past her, clutching a cupcake with frosting smeared all over his face, bringing with him the delightful chaos she was learning to embrace. Would this fleeting moment lead her to deeper revelations about herself she had yet to uncover? Megan took a deep breath, letting the laughter of the children wash over her, mingling with the chatter of the adults. The room seemed to pulsate with energy, and in that moment, she realized she didn't just want to survive, she wanted to thrive. It was a stark contrast to her previous self, one who felt small, a mere shadow amidst the familial grandeur. As the kids continued their scavenger hunt, Megan's eyes darted toward the wedding's main focus. The bride, adorned in lace, was the personification of every dream realized. A pang of envy twisted in her chest as she compared herself to the shimmering ideal. But a spark ignited again. She wasn't simply there to fulfill a role. She was someone shaping joy for the children, which made her just as vital in that space. The idea rippled in her thoughts. What if she could channel this leadership beyond mere entertainment? Inspiration struck like lightning. Scavenger hunts could evolve into something more. Interactive games that engaged the wedding spirit and the children's bright imaginations. Could she not orchestrate a lively segment that would draw in the adults and make them rethink their dismissive judgments? It was audacious, maybe even reckless, but that's what life needed to be, didn't it? As a new clarity washed over her, she moved toward the center of the room, her pulse quickening with every step. For a while, standing on the sidelines, she had only felt the heavy weight of expectations. Now, she would write her own narrative. "All right, everyone," she called out, her voice cutting through the ambient chatter. "We're going to have a mini talent show. Kids and adults alike can join. Let's celebrate every form of joy." Her words hung in the air, a challenge and an invitation, and it seemed to invite both skepticism and curiosity. Cast glances flickered, conversations paused. A few adults whispered, perhaps doubting her ability to pull it off, while the children erupted in excitement. The noise surged, buoyed by the thrill of potential scenarios. Yet doubt snaked its way back in. Was she making a fool of herself? Thoughts swirled, whispering caution. Megan took a moment to steady her breathing. Her resolve hardened. This was exactly what she needed, an opportunity to dismantle the barriers erected in her mind and affirm her presence. She glanced over at Mrs. Thompson, who wore an impenetrable frown. There it was again, the familiar wave of intimidation. But Megan squashed it, channeling her growing determination into her next words. "I'll be here to guide the kids and, honestly, everyone who wants to participate. Let's explore our hidden talents together. I challenge you all." Stepping back, she took stock of the room, noting the tide pulling in different currents. The laughter of the children felt like an invocation, and slowly, almost hesitantly, a few adults began to stand, curiosity backing their motions. It was contagious, and soon, rather than demanding attention, Megan found herself in the role of unifier. As she organized the participants, she felt a shift. Those critical eyes were softening, even a little amused at the absurdity of the talent show idea. A liberation unfurled with every child who stood up to reveal their hidden skills. Songs emerged, silly dances erupted, and shared old family stories echoed through the room, rekindling bonds that had been precariously severed by judgments. But amid the growing camaraderie, a deeper ambivalence began to swell. Was this merely a distraction from imposing expectations, or was it genuine growth? Could she maintain this momentum without backtracking into insecurity? Every heartfelt laugh from her audience delighted her, while keeping her pulse racing with anticipation. As the talent show spiraled into a whirlwind of shared joy, the raw essence of vulnerability danced in the air around her. Each act blended humility with bravado, reflecting the spectrum of their collective experiences. The saying of finding one's voice rang starkly true in that moment. Would she be able to harness this energy tomorrow, or even later tonight when the marriage trappings faded and expectation crept back in? Just then, a child slipped and fell, sending a tray of cupcakes skidding across the floor. The delightful chaos erupted again, and at that moment, Megan realized the truth. This was all part of it. This unpredictable journey of self-discovery was anything but a straight path, and the true test awaited once the night ended. Her heart raced with the tantalizing thrill of the unknown. It felt as if the ground beneath her was both stable and unsteady, tugging her between triumph and trepidation. Would she show up tomorrow morning realizing this was merely a fleeting chapter, or would the lessons learned carry methodically into her future? As the laughter and chaos flared around her, another question lingered hauntingly. What would be her guiding compass when faced with a mightier challenge? Megan's heart pounded, not from anxiety, but a burgeoning sense of purpose. The laughter and joy that enveloped her provided a buoyancy she had never felt before. As the last act of the talent show concluded, a particularly rambunctious skit about a superhero who could fly and bake cupcakes, she caught the eye of Mrs. Thompson, who, to her astonishment, cracked a smile. Today was invaluable, a stepping stone she hadn't anticipated. The sheer joy radiating from the children and the reluctant engagement from the adults birthed new possibilities in Megan's mind. She was exhausted but exhilarated. The real challenge, however, awaited on the other side of this chaos. After the night's lightheartedness faded, did she still have the strength, that same welcoming warmth, to confront the expectations that had long loomed over her? She stepped outside for a moment, where the cool night air rushed against her flushed cheeks. The noise inside faded, replaced by the rustle of leaves and the distant hum of celebration. Glancing up at the starlit sky, Megan found herself secretly wishing to be as fluid and unconfined as those stars, each twinkling with their unique brilliance, unbothered by the weight of others' expectations. Gathering her thoughts, she replayed the events of the talent show. How had she drawn out that unguarded laughter? What had inspired the adults to rise alongside the children? It had felt like magic, a currency of connection that surpassed any prior measure of success she'd used. Yet shadows of doubt crept in. Was she just momentarily swept up by excitement? She had fought through familiar insecurities today. It was too easy to return to those spaces of discomfort she had always lived in. Her sense of accomplishment felt nearly fragile, teetering on the precipice of her self-doubt. Determined not to allow these thoughts to settle, Megan made a mental note of the success as she turned back inside. She would harness this momentum. The talent show had unveiled not only the talents of others, but also awakened desires buried deep within her. Could she take this further? What if she transformed experiences like this into a side venture? Birthday parties, keep camps, or even collaborations with local schools, engaging children through creativity and play. Her heart raced at the thought. Was it too bold, too eccentric? Nothing ventured, nothing gained, she acknowledged with newfound clarity. But the weight of her personal history pressed heavily on her. She'd always been the dependable one, the safe choice rather than the bold option, a babysitter in the background. This night had planted a seed of ambition in her, but nurturing it would mean confronting more than just her doubts. As she re-entered the wedding, she spotted her sister across the room, glowing with the joy of her celebration. The reflection in her sister's eyes was one of pride, but Megan could sense caution lingering just beneath the surface. They'd been raised to meet certain expectations, graduate, settle down, and follow the traditional path. Her sister, so adept at navigating the conservative currents of their family, was the epitome of those ideals. How could Megan approach her about her aspirations without feeling the inevitable judgment? With every step toward her, every slice of laughter around her easing specifically into consideration, she steeled herself for what lay ahead. "Hey, Megan," her sister called, her voice laced with happiness. "You were amazing today. I could tell how much everyone loved the show." "Thanks. It was fun and exhilarating," Megan replied, a spark of defiance lingering in her voice. "How did you even come up with that idea?" her sister pressed, her excitement palpable but underlined with curiosity. Megan hesitated for just a moment, questioning if revealing her aspirations would shatter the idealized image painted by her sister's gracious perception of her. But maybe it was time to redefine how she wanted to be seen. After all, growth often lay at the intersection of discomfort and discovery. "Hey," her sister called, her voice laced with happiness. "You were amazing today. I could tell how much everyone loved the show." "Thanks. It was fun and exhilarating," Megan replied, a spark of defiance lingering in her voice. "How did you even come up with that idea?" her sister pressed, her excitement palpable but underlined with curiosity. Megan hesitated for just a moment, questioning if revealing her aspirations would shatter the idealized image painted by her sister's gracious perception of her. But maybe it was time to redefine how she wanted to be seen. After all, growth often lay at the intersection of discomfort and discovery.
Well, I was just thinking, what if I did something more with this? Something that goes beyond today? It was impulsive, yet the urge to express this newfound vision surged within her. More? Like what? Her sister asked, genuine interest sparked. As they spoke, the excitement pulsed through Megan, fueling her growing determination. Perhaps this career shift was the next act she should conduct. But as she spoke, she could feel the anxiety of that choice weighing down upon her. What if she failed? What if her sister didn't believe in her? With that thrilling prospect came a fresh wave of fear. Would she dare embrace this vulnerability in the face of the very judgment she'd battled all her life? The night had opened a door, but the intensity of what lay ahead loomed larger than she could have ever imagined. Would she step through it, or retreat into the confines of predictability once again? Megan's pulse quickened as she sensed the emerging arsenal of possibilities before her. The words still lingered sweetly on her tongue, painted with the promise of something more profound than she had ever dared to chase. But fear coiling tightly around her heart reminded her of the shackles she had worn for so many years. What if I hosted workshops? The thoughts spilled over as she found her footing. For kids, engaging them through play, creativity, birthday parties, camps. I've seen how easily joy can ignite when children create together. Her sister's brows knitted together, an elegant mask of concern. Workshops? That's different. What makes you think you could manage something like that? The phrase stung, a deep-rooted echo of doubt swimming back to the forefront. Yet Megan could feel the strength of her ambition lighting a fire within her, pushing back against the well-worn grooves of self-doubt. I just proved I can bring people together. Children, adults. I know, I could do this. The talent show showed me that. Her sister tilted her head slightly, the wheels of uncertainty still turning. Megan could see the seeds of encouragement mixed with disbelief. She sought to quell her rising anxiety. This wasn't just a dream. It was a chance to finally embrace her individuality. What would be the first step? Her sister asked, a slight wariness marring the enthusiasm of her inquiry. Research, I guess? I could model the workshops based on the things I did today. Improv, arts and crafts, teamwork activities. The more she spoke, the more the ideas crystallized, weaving a tapestry of action in her mind. If I could find a partner or mentor, someone experienced, I could collaborate with schools or local spaces to get this off the ground. Hot flushes of determination pulsed through her as she envisioned her own schedule brimming with workshops. Megan was no longer the background player in her life. She was carving out a distinct narrative, one where she could showcase her creative spirit. What once existed only in her imagination was inching its way into reality. The eyes of the busy wedding party swirled around her, filled with laughter and love. It felt surreal, almost suffocating. How easily they flitted through life while she stood still, pinned by obligation and past expectations. The craving for independence, the want to step fully inside her own skin, this realization surged up, rippling through her mind like an electric pulse. You could start small, her sister offered, her tone shifting as if a door had creaked open. Maybe with just a few kids, see how it goes.
maybe I could run a trial workshop by the end of the month. Megan's voice held an edge of urgency, laced with excitement. Urgency, sparking taking root in her gut. If I adapt the ideas, what if I reached out to those parents to see who'd be interested? I'll help you, her sister replied, slowly, the warmth in her eyes comforting yet cautious. I'm not saying it'll be easy, but if you want to try, I'm in. Megan took a deep breath, a mixture of gratitude and trepidation flooding her. Thanks, that really means a lot, she said. But the thrill of vulnerability couldn't be ignored. What if this pitch failed? The tension of that moment hung heavy around them as she nodded, her resolve nearly collapsing beneath its weight. Would the approval of her sister be enough to silence the fears incessantly whispering caution? The night kept unfurling, laughter rippling through the space, drowning out the relentless questions. But Megan could feel a new current pushing her toward firm decisions. It was more than just a dream now. She'd put it into motion, and that came with newfound fears, obligations, and the very real possibility of failure. Yet there existed within her now an urgent question. How could she navigate this before the moment arrived? One that could either define her or drag her back to the shadows. As the laughter of the party grew around her, Megan's anxiety transformed into a simmering determination. She needed a plan, a roadmap to her aspirations that could guide her through the impending trials. The awareness of her journey abruptly became a dwelling place of possibilities. Did she possess the courage to follow through, to keep her ambitions alive, even when the shadows of expectation loomed once more? The night transformed into a canvas of aspirations, with uncertainty swirling beneath. But what if she stumbled across the challenges waiting just around the corner? Would she still have the courage to embrace the adventure? Megan awoke the next day, the sun streaming through her window, a warm reminder of the potential that lay ahead. Each beam ignited a flicker of excitement within her as she reflected on the night before. Her mind buzzed with ideas. Hosting workshops felt like a tangible goal, but now reality loomed over her like an overcast sky. Could she indeed take that leap? She jolted up, awareness snatching her from restful complacency. There was work to be done. With a surge of determination, she took to her notebook, scribbling strategies for her first trial workshop. She envisioned the frameworks, a 2-hour session incorporating improvisational games, art stations, and teamwork challenges. The laughter of children resonated in her mind, a siren call blending harmony with chaos, a cacophony she longed to orchestrate. The day unfolded with promising urgency as she researched local community centers and schools, jotting down contact information. Each phone number and address felt like a stepping stone, moving her closer to envisioning her launch. Yet self-doubt clawed at her with its familiar grasp. Those thoughts paraded in her mind. What if no one showed up? What if the activities flopped? She pressed through, shaking her head as if to banish them. She recalled the kids' wide smiles at the wedding, the joy that permeated those fleeting moments. If she had accomplished that in a day, how much more could she achieve in 2 hours of orchestrated play? Megan took a deep breath and dialed the first number. It was a local community center, a small yet vibrant hub known for its involvement with children. Her fingers trembled, heart thumping in sync with the ringing. The voice on the other end was welcoming, the kind of enthusiasm she hoped would mirror her own. After a brief conversation, they agreed to meet. Excitement blossomed as ideas flowed freely during the call. The wheels of collaboration were in motion. Once she hung up, adrenaline surged through her as she visualized the upcoming meeting. Yet apprehension washed over her as well. What if they deemed her unqualified? The thread of vulnerability tugged at her. She wished for the confidence to announce her vision without any hesitation. Just an hour ago, she had been organized and articulate. Now, the looming prospect of rejection brought forth her insecurities. Still, she pressed on, composing a proposal for the meeting, outlining her vision and the workshop framework to present confidently. This detailing was grounding, reminding her of how far she had come. Transforming from a reluctant babysitter to a facilitator of connection and creativity felt monumental. She recognized now that it wasn't solely about the end goal, but the journey through the insecurities that would shape her and her workshop. As days progressed, Megan continued her outreach, warming leads like a slow fire igniting into a bonfire. She explored ideas not just for the initial workshop, but also for potential follow-ups, a 2-week camp, themed parties, partnerships with local schools. With every interaction, her confidence began to swell, threading connections and creating a network of supportive voices that cheered her on. Yet shadows lurked in the corners of her mind. Each time she entertained thoughts of success, her mind countered with fears of failure. The idea that she could be perceived as an incompetent novice was a constant weight. But beneath that weight, she felt resilience budding. One evening, after a particularly fruitful day, Megan found herself at her kitchen table, preparing notes for the meeting the following week. The gathering was with a local after-school program director who had expressed interest. The stakes felt palpable, and every written word was a whisper of hope mingling with anxiety. The question arose once more. Could she transform this chance into something enduring, something that could redefine how she viewed herself? As the night darkened outside, a sense of possibility enveloped her, tangled with the doubts that remained. How could she reconcile dreaming big with the fear of falling short? Just then, her phone chimed, a reminder flashing across the screen. Meeting tomorrow. She could feel the flicker of dread tightening its grip once again. But this time, it was accompanied by resolve. She had committed to herself. She would show up, ready to face whatever happened. Tomorrow would be a step. With that promise in her mind, Megan closed her eyes, her heart racing, knowing that this was just the beginning. But as she drifted off to sleep, one thought wrestled against the comfort of dreams. Would she falter when the time came to pitch her vision fully? Would she crumble under the weight of expectation? Megan awoke the next morning with a tumultuous whirl of thoughts. The anticipation of her meeting hung in the air like a charged storm cloud, heavy and almost tangible. A lingering trace of nervousness clung to her, prompting her to adopt a quick morning routine, a deliberate series of actions to ground herself. She brewed coffee, the aroma embracing her senses, then donned her favorite jacket, a simple task that felt like armor against the uncertainties ahead. As she approached the meeting location, Megan meticulously rehearsed her pitch in her mind, transforming her insecurities into a mantra of empowerment. Each street sign passed felt like a marker edging her closer to a pivotal moment. But just as quickly as excitement ignited within her, doubting thoughts began to murmur in the recesses of her mind. Why would they consider her a viable option? But she pushed through the relentless barrage of self-doubt. The memory of the children's laughter from the wedding surged forth, joyful, pure, waiting to be reignited. With every step, she banished thoughts of inadequacy. She decided, in that moment, to walk into the room not only as a facilitator, but as someone truly capable of making a difference. Upon arriving, Megan was greeted by Rachel, the program director, a woman whose demeanor radiated both warmth and authority. As they settled at a table surrounded by art supplies and posters of past events, Megan observed Rachel's genuine enthusiasm for their collaboration. This fueled her own zeal and sparked an initial connection. Megan launched into her proposal, recounting the framework of her envisioned workshop. She spoke passionately about the improvisational games, the art stations that would encourage creativity, and the teamwork challenges designed to foster camaraderie. As words flowed, she felt less like an imposter and more like an architect laying the foundation for something meaningful. Rachel leaned forward, her interest visibly piqued. "I love the idea of incorporating art." "And movement," she remarked, nodding along. The acknowledgement was validating, yet it also pushed Megan to confront the lingering threads of doubt hidden beneath her confidence. After an invigorating discussion filled with laughter and a mutual exchange of ideas, Rachel began outlining what they could offer. "We have a beautiful space, and our community is always looking for fresh activities for the kids. I think we can make this happen," she stated, exuberance saturating her tone. Megan's heart swelled with possibility, but the protected corner of her psyche whispered insecurities once more.
What if it wasn't enough? What if expectations overshadowed the joy she sought to create? Yet, the strong resolve that had brought her here helped her remember that challenges could be learning opportunities. As the meeting concluded, Rachel extended her hand for a shake, and Megan felt a surge of gratitude. She had navigated this moment with grace and authenticity. Even the shivers of doubt coiled within her seemed to transform into something empowering. Perhaps her journey was a series of calculated risks mixed with a healthy dose of relentless perseverance. That evening, as she returned home, Megan reflected on the day. She had faced her fears head-on, proving to herself that she could hold space for her aspirations. There was still so much to learn, and the journey had only just begun. But just as comfort began to settle in, doubt struck anew. What if she failed to deliver on her promises? What if the workshops crumbled under the weight of unfulfilled expectations? A tight knot formed in her chest as new worries began to overshadow her excitement. She sat on her couch, the night settling into silence around her, her mind racing with potential scenarios for the future. There was so much at stake now, not only her aspirations, but the hopes of the children whose laughter she wanted to echo in her workshops. One thought circled incessantly. Could she really uphold the promises she had just made? The moment of truth loomed ahead, and the stakes felt high, a reckoning that she was both eager and terrified to face. But one thing was becoming increasingly clear. There was no retreat. She was committed to this path. With a newfound determination, she reached for her notebook, scribbling potential activities and reflections from the day. Tomorrow was another opportunity, a chance to build, create, and finally step firmly into her vision. Yet, amidst her planning and enthusiasm, a distant echo of trepidation loomed. What if, on the day of the first workshop, everything fell apart? Megan's alarm buzzed 3 hours too early the next morning, its shrill tones jarring her from a restless sleep punctuated by indecisive dreams. Each flicker of her eyelids brought waves of anxiety, compounded by the fear of what lay ahead. Today marked the first day of her workshop, a culmination of all her ideas and fervor. She felt like a tightrope walker, teetering perilously between excitement and dread. After a quick shower, she allowed herself a moment to gaze into the bathroom mirror. The reflection stared back with a mix of determination and uncertainty. Did she truly believe she could pull this off? As if responding to her internal debate, the reflection urged her to think beyond self-doubt. Reaffirming her commitment to providing joy for the children kept her motivated. Fueled by the belief that creativity could ignite something beautiful, she pored over her notes one last time, penning final touches to the objectives of each activity. Vibrancy filled her with renewed energy, but time slipped away, leaving her with little room for pondering what might go wrong. She ascribed to the notion that momentum would carry her forward, pushing the ominous doubts aside. Upon arriving at the venue, the space enveloped her, a delightful mix of colors and laughter from children participating in other activities. The warming atmosphere provided a stark contrast to the turmoil brewing within her. She was offered help in setting up, and with every table she arranged, the anxiety loosened its grip, replaced by a burgeoning sense of ownership over the day. As the clock edged closer toward the start time, Megan spied Rachel entering the room, charm in tow. "You're ready for this?" Rachel's voice was a buoy in the turbulent sea of her mind. "I hope so," Megan replied, a nervous laugh accompanying the words. Rachel smiled knowingly, reflecting determination in her eyes. They shared a reassuring glance before Rachel departed, leaving Megan to rein-check her scattered thoughts. She took a deep breath, closed her eyes, and visualized the workshop's flow. The laughter, the shared creative moments, and the unexpected surprises all started to unroll in her mind like a vivid movie. But moments later, the door swung open and the children tumbled in, raucous and overflowing with energy. They weren't waiting for anyone. The chaos was immediate, and Megan felt the surge of uncertainty cascade. Nevertheless, she summoned her resolve and called them to gather. "Hey everyone, who's ready for a day full of adventure?" she announced, projecting her voice above the din. Their immediate enthusiasm was intoxicating. It forced a smile across her face. As they settled, engaging in basic icebreakers, Megan's heart gradually slowed its frantic pace. Children's laughter mingled with their playful stories, and in that moment, something stitched together within her. She wasn't just a facilitator, she was a participant in the symphony of joy and creativity. The workshop unfolded seamlessly, with games fostering teamwork, arts and crafts allowing self-expression, and meals encouraging conversation over shared experiences. Megan felt exhilaration ebb and flow within her, replacing the earlier notion of failure with the satisfaction of shared smiles and vibrant masterpieces. Yet, as the day drew to a close, a nagging voice crept back steadily into her consciousness. What if she'd missed something crucial? What if one child felt left out? The weight of responsibility washed over her as she reflected on the successful chaos around her. Emotional exhaustion paired with lingering doubt clouded her consciousness. Earlier triumph. She needed validation for the day's successful script, a sign that she hadn't just managed, but truly made an impact. That evening, while debriefing with Rachel, her veneer of confidence cracked slightly. What if one child didn't enjoy it, she confessed, vulnerability lacing her voice? Rachel paused, offering Megan a reassuring smile. You'll never get every child's approval, but you can ignite a spark in just one. That's a victory. The words settled as Megan contemplated their weight. One child? Could it truly be that simple? She stared down, grappling with the endless possibilities, but one undeniable truth emerged. She had taken the first step, igniting creativity in a way that mattered. Reflecting on the day's impact, Megan knew the journey was far from over. New doubts might arise, but she had to face them, one workshop at a time. As she prepared for bed, fresh ideas danced in her thoughts for future sessions. What if she could integrate feedback from the children? What if she could pivot and adapt her approach based on their responses, crafting an increasingly engaging experience? She sat upright in bed, the realization dawning upon her. Planning became less about pressure to succeed and more about the joy of imaginative adaptation. With renewed clarity, she reached for her notebook. But just as the words began pouring forth, a quiet knock at her door interrupted her flow. The moment felt significant. Perhaps it held another aspect of her budding journey. What awaited her on the other side felt as electric as the very first idea she had ever bowled into existence. Opportunity to redefine my purpose. Hesitantly, Megan placed her notebook down and approached the door, her heartbeat accelerating at the unknown. As she opened it, she was greeted by Rachel, framed in the halo of the dim hallway light, her expression unreadable. "What's going on?" Megan asked, sensing the urgency in Rachel's demeanor. "I wanted to talk about something," Rachel began, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "Something important." Megan's stomach nodded. Is this about the workshop? The weight of her insecurities swirled within her like a dark storm cloud. Rachel shook her head, adjusting her stance as if balancing on a tightrope. "It's about you, Megan. I see how hard you're trying, but you need to recognize that you're holding yourself back." "What do you mean?" Megan's voice betrayed an edge of defensiveness. It wasn't easy to unpack thoughts that had haunted her for years. Rachel took a deep breath, her gaze unwavering. "You keep asking what if, but what if you were to look beyond the fear? There's potential in you that's just waiting to break free. You need to embrace it." Megan frowned, attempting to digest the implication. "But what if I fail?" "Failure is part of growth," Rachel pressed. "This workshop was a success. You felt it. Children felt it. You're not just facilitating, you're inspiring. The moment you let go of that self-doubt, you'll see how capable you really are." Those words were like a key to a locked door, awakening a sense of urgency within Megan. Could Rachel be right? She had fought against her instincts long enough, tethering herself to fears that no longer defined her reality. "I want to create something bigger. I just don't know if I can," Megan admitted, a flicker of hope sparking in her chest. "Then start small. Take one aspect of today's workshop that moved you and build from there," Rachel ventured, her enthusiasm infectious. "Create a few short videos of the highlights. Maybe post them online. Share your passion. You never know who might connect with it."
The idea almost seemed revolutionary, yet terrifying. Megan's heart raced, not from fear, but from excitement mingled with uncertainty. It required putting herself out there again, taking another leap beyond her comfort zone. Videos? She echoed, visualizing snippets of laughter, colorful art projects, and kids lost in creative bliss. She hadn't ever considered showcasing those moments publicly. Yes, you could reach out to parents, invite engagement, and gain feedback. This is about evolving your vision. You've taken so many bold steps already. This is just the next chapter. Megan's mind raced, envisioning the potential ripples of her work. She yearned for validation, yes, but even more urgently, for impact. "So you think I should?" "I think you owe it to yourself," Rachel affirmed. "You've already started a journey that can touch lives. Why not document it, grow from it, and embrace the introspection that comes with sharing?" Megan felt both terrified and exhilarated, an emotional cocktail she had grown unaccustomed to since surrendering herself to doubts. Yet deep within, the craving for growth surged forward, much like her instinct to leap during her art workshops. "Okay," she said finally, steadying her breathing. "I'll do it. I'll create the videos and share everything. But what if nobody responds?" Rachel grinned, a confident flash in her eyes. "Then it's a chance to learn. Each video could lead to another workshop, a new connection, and who knows what else. One step at a time, right?" Megan nodded slowly, feeling emboldened by Rachel's faith. For the first time in what felt like ages, the idea of stretching beyond her limitations flickered within, igniting a new path forward. As Rachel left, Megan turned back to her room, a renewed sense of purpose fueling her. She reached for her notebook, eager to outline not only the activities for future workshops, but the narrative she wanted to weave through each video. But before she could absorb the weight of possibilities, a sudden pang of anxiety clutched at her chest. What if she failed to capture the right moments? What if she was met with silence instead of the laughter she adored? The doubts lingered, coiling around her thoughts like an unwelcome blanket. But the new enthusiasm battled against them fiercely. It was time to embrace the discomfort and take the plunge into this new venture. Heart racing, Megan sat at her desk, fingers ready to fly across the keyboard. Yet just as she began composing a rough outline for her videos, another knock at the door echoed through her thoughts, grounding her momentarily. Perhaps this was the moment she needed to truly confront the next layer of her journey. She hesitated, half expecting it to be Rachel again, but the feeling thrumming through her insisted that there was much more at stake. What awaited her on the other side now felt like the pivotal moment she had been searching for. Megan opened the door and was met with the radiant smile of her sister, who carried a tray of fresh cookies. "I thought these might add some sweetness to your big day," she said, stepping in without waiting for an invitation. Instantly, the tension that had tightened around Megan began to loosen. "Thanks, I need it more than you know," Megan replied, another wave of nervous energy flooding through her. She watched as her sister set the tray down and glanced around the room, noticing the mess of papers and notes. "What's all this?" her sister asked, leaning closer. Megan could see the curiosity in her eyes, almost like she suspected something beyond just the workshop planning was at play. "I'm preparing for my second workshop," Megan admitted, fighting the urge to fill the silence with self-deprecating humor, "and also thinking about posting videos." Her sister raised an eyebrow, surprise spilling into her expression. "Videos? Of your workshops?" "Rachel suggested it, to share what I'm doing, show how much the children enjoy it," Megan clarified, excitement mingled with trepidation. "But what if it flops? What if nobody cares?" "You've been so focused on the what-ifs that you're missing the bigger picture," her sister said, folding her arms. "Think of how much you've accomplished already. You're already making a difference." Megan's heart swelled at her sister's support. Reflecting on this shift, a realization settled within her. This was an inflection point that could reshape her narrative from shadow to spotlight. "Do you really think so?" Megan asked, vulnerability lacing her question as she made eye contact with her sister. Absolutely. You're not just babysitting anymore, you're creating experiences, her sister responded, her voice resolute. Why not lean into that inspiration? Megan pondered, her mind racing. What if I think of the videos as a way to connect, not just for validation, but to spark something meaningful? Exactly. If even one child watches those videos and feels inspired, that's a win, her sister pointed out, her enthusiasm contagious. Remember, you're giving kids an opportunity to explore themselves through creativity. That's the core of what you're doing. The comfort in her sister's words poured courage into her spirit. Megan felt the familiar pangs of fear still lingering, but the excitement of possibility eclipsed her self-doubt. Maybe I'll draft a script tonight, she announced, with newfound resolve, her hands dancing across her notes as ideas sparked forth. As hours ticked by, Megan nestled into her creative flow, poring over plans to not just capture the chaos, but the essence of joy in each segment of the workshop. Her sister watched, a proud smile radiating from her as she offered insights that only further fueled Megan's determination. Together, they collaborated in ways reminiscent of childhood days spent dreaming during late-night talks. Finally, as the sun dipped below the horizon, revealing a starlit blanket above, Megan put down her pen. She had crafted not just a vision for her videos, but a plan for her potential future, a map of where she wanted to navigate her journey. It felt incredibly liberating. Megan turned to her sister, her heart swelling with gratitude. "You always see the best in me," she said sincerely. "I can't thank you enough for that." "Just speaking the truth," her sister replied, "but I think you're the one who's finally seeing it within yourself." That night, as Megan prepared for bed, a soft buzz of excitement flowed through her veins. For the first time, she felt anchored, as if she belonged to something larger than herself. The fear? It still flitted around, but it wasn't paralyzing. Instead, it was an invitation to step boldly into the unknown. It was time to embrace not just the workshop, but the entire journey that lay ahead. She resolved to commit to herself, to celebrate each laugh, every child's creativity, and the connections that emerged. She had conquered a significant threshold. The lingering chains of self-doubt were loosening, and her spirit felt infinitely lighter. Megan was not just stepping into her new role, she was stepping into her future. With renewed clarity in her heart and mind, she knew this was the moment she was prepared to claim her worth. If not now, then when? She closed her eyes, imagining laughter and creativity bursting like fireworks. She was ready to share her journey, ready to inspire others along the way. This was her new beginning. And as Megan settled into restful anticipation, deep within her a powerful truth resonated. She was not merely a reluctant babysitter, but a vibrant creator of joy and connection, ready to be seen, ready to lead. You need to subscribe now to witness Megan's journey as she transforms dreams into reality. This is the moment to show your support for stories of personal growth. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help spread inspiration. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support makes all the difference. Megan was not just stepping into her new role, she was stepping into her future. With renewed clarity in her heart and mind, she knew this was the moment she was prepared to claim her worth. If not now, then when? She closed her eyes, imagining laughter and creativity bursting like fireworks. She was ready to share her journey, ready to inspire others along the way. This was her new beginning. And as Megan settled into restful anticipation, deep within her a powerful truth resonated. She was not merely a reluctant babysitter, but a vibrant creator of joy and connection, ready to be seen, ready to lead. You need to subscribe now to witness Megan's journey as she transforms dreams into reality. This is the moment to show your support for stories of personal growth. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help spread inspiration. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support makes all the difference.